me ask you something straight. What would happen if for just 3 days you stopped talking to yourself like a victim and started speaking like the victor you were born to be? What if instead of reminding yourself of what you're not, you reminded yourself of what God says you are? And I'm not talking about wishful thinking. I'm talking about intentional internal transformation that will change the direction of your entire life. And it starts not with your circumstances, but with your conversation, the one happening inside your mind. So for the next 3 days, I challenge you to talk to yourself like this. When you speak identity instead of insecurity, you anchor your words in truth, not in temporary feelings or flawed perceptions. Insecurity is a false narrative. It's a broken record that keeps playing. You're not enough. You always fail. You can't do this. But identity? Identity is the original blueprint. It's the truth of who you are, placed in you before anyone had a chance to doubt it. Most people spend their lives reacting to what others say about them instead of responding to what they know about themselves. The problem is, if you don't speak your identity, the world will gladly hand you an insecurity to repeat. Your words shape your self-image, and your self-image determines how far you're willing to go, what you're willing to try, and what you will allow yourself to receive. If you keep saying things like, I always mess things up, I'm just not that kind of person, or people like me never succeed, you are literally programming your subconscious to sabotage your own success. You're setting your internal GPS to a destination called stuck. But when you flip the script and speak identity, you tap into the power of who you were created to be, not just who you've been trained to see. Identity is not wishful thinking. Identity is spiritual truth with real world consequences. When you say, I am disciplined, even if your habits haven't caught up yet, you are training your mind to accept that standard. When you say, I am a leader, even if no one's following yet, you're declaring a truth that will shape how you move. Your identity, when spoken consistently, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, not because words are magic, but because belief is power. But let me give you a quick example. A young man used to walk into every room and say nothing. He kept his head down, avoided eye contact, and told himself, I don't belong here. That voice was planted in him by years of rejection, shame, and insecurity. But one day, a mentor challenged him to speak differently, to say out loud every morning, I am bold, I am valuable, I bring something to the table. At first, it felt fake. But over time, those words began to shape how he stood, how he spoke, how he saw himself. Within a year, he went from hiding in the back to leading from the front. All because he stopped letting insecurity narrate his life and started letting identity guide his voice. Here's the truth. Identity is not earned, it's owned. And the way you own it is by speaking it, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your circumstances contradict it. You're not broke. You're blessed and in a rebuilding season. You're not lost. You're being led. You're not weak. You're being strengthened. When you speak identity, you declare who you are from a place of truth and destiny, not from pain or fear. Insecurity will keep you small, quiet, and afraid, but identity will make you bold, grounded, and unshakable. It will remind you that you were not made to fit in, you were made to stand out. So stop rehearsing your flaws and failures. Speak life, speak purpose, speak who you really are. Speaking vision instead of circumstance is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you will ever make. It's the difference between being defined by what's around you and being driven by what's ahead of you. Circumstances are temporary, they change, they evolve, they rise and fall. But vision, real God-given vision, is eternal. It is the picture of your potential before the pain. It's the destination that doesn't move even when the road gets rough. If you constantly speak based on your current situation, you'll be stuck in cycles. But if you speak based on your vision, you'll build momentum even in the midst of setbacks. Most people describe their life instead of declaring their future. They say things like, I'm broke, I'm tired, nothing's working, it's too late, it's too hard. And the problem with that is they keep reinforcing the very environment they're trying to escape. The more you speak your current struggle, the more you identify with it. But when you start speaking where you're going, what you're building, what you're becoming, what's being prepared for you, you break the cycle of limitation and create a new mental and spiritual pathway forward. Vision has a voice. And when you use your words to echo that vision, your actions start to align. Your decisions start to reflect where you're headed, not what you're surviving. Speaking vision is not about ignoring reality. It's about overriding it with a greater reality. It's saying, yes, I may be in the valley, but I'm not setting up camp here. I'm passing through. I've got higher ground in sight. This principle is powerful because your mouth moves your mind. When you say, I am building a business that creates generational wealth, or I am stepping into my calling to lead and inspire, or I am healing and rising stronger than ever, you're not just making noise, you're giving instructions to your brain and your spirit. You're choosing to live from vision, not condition. Here's a simple example. A woman was working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet, struggling with self-doubt. Every day she'd tell herself, this is just my life now, struggle, stress, and survive. But deep inside, she had a vision to start her own interior design business. One day, she made a decision to stop speaking her limitations and start speaking her vision. She began declaring every morning, I am a creative business owner. I bring beauty and order into people's lives. I run a successful company that blesses others and honors God. She didn't have clients yet. She didn't have a storefront, but she had words. And she used those words to feed her faith, not her fear. Over time, her speech transformed her mindset, and her mindset transformed her actions. She saved, studied, practiced, posted her work online, and within a year, she had her first 3 clients. The shift didn't start with money or opportunity. It started with vision-based speech. What you say in the middle determines how you finish. You can be surrounded by chaos and still speak peace. You can be in debt and still speak overflow. You can be alone and still speak connection. Because you are not what's around you, you are what you see within you. And when you speak what you see in faith, the world starts catching up to your words. So stop giving circumstance the microphone. Speak the vision, speak the future, speak the promise, and keep speaking it until what's inside of you becomes what's around you. That's how you shift your life, one vision-filled word at a time. Speaking from faith instead of fear is the difference between living in reaction and living in revelation. Fear speaks based on what it sees. Faith speaks based on what it believes. When you speak from fear, you speak small, hesitant, and full of doubt. You talk about what might go wrong, what's missing, what's too hard, or what's uncertain. Fear always tries to keep you safe, but safe isn't your calling. Faith, on the other hand, calls you forward. It speaks from confidence, from conviction, from an unshakable belief that the outcome is already secure, even when the path. Every time you open your mouth, you're either reinforcing fear or releasing faith. It's not just about being positive. It's about speaking in alignment with what God has already promised you, even if your circumstances haven't caught up yet. Faith doesn't deny the storm, but it refuses to let the storm decide what comes out of your mouth. It says, yes, the wind is blowing, but I'm still standing. It says, yes, I don't see it yet, but I still believe it's on the way. When you speak from faith, you activate strength. You shift your mindset. You shift your energy. You shift your atmosphere. The reason most people stay stuck is because they keep giving fear the microphone. They say things like, what if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if it doesn't work? But when you speak from faith, you flip the question. You start saying, what if I win? What if this is the breakthrough I've been praying for? What if it works out better than I imagined? That one shift in language can be the difference between quitting and continuing. And here's the key. You don't wait until you feel full of faith to speak it. You speak it until you feel it. You don't speak fear just because it's louder. You speak faith because it's truer. Even if it shakes in your throat, even if it's one sentence on repeat, your voice carries power when it carries faith. And that power creates movement. Let me give you an example. There was a man who had been dreaming of launching his coaching business for years. He had the skill, the knowledge, the passion, but every time he got close, fear would talk him out of it. You're not ready. Who would listen to you? What if you fail publicly? So he'd pull back, stay quiet, and settle. One day he made a decision. For the next 30 days, he would only speak from faith, no matter how he felt. He wrote affirmations, declared scripture out loud, and started speaking as if the business was already thriving. He would say things like, my voice brings transformation, my clients are being drawn to me, and I am equipped and called to lead. At first it felt fake, but day by day something changed. His energy shifted, his ideas flowed, he started taking bold action, and before the 30 days were over, he had signed his first 3 clients. The fear didn't leave overnight, but faith had finally become louder. Speaking from faith builds the future before it exists. It creates space for miracles. It trains your brain and your spirit to expect increase, not setbacks. So the next time fear tries to take the mic, to pause and say, that's not my language anymore. Declare what's true, not what's terrifying, because fear may be loud, but faith is always more powerful if you choose to speak it. Speak faith and watch everything start to shift in your favor. Speaking with power instead of permission means you no longer wait for someone else to validate your worth, approve your dreams, or open a door for you. It means you understand that you already have the authority to move, to build, to lead, and to become. Not because someone said yes to you, but because God already did. The moment you were created, you were given a purpose, and with that purpose came power. But if you keep waiting for external permission, you'll stay in internal prison. Real power is not handed to you. It's activated when you decide to stop playing small. Most people live their entire lives waiting for a sign, a title, or applause before they step into what's already inside of them. They say things like, I'm not sure if I'm ready. I don't want to overstep. I don't want people to think I'm trying to do too much. That's the language of permission. It's rooted in fear of judgment, fear of rejection, and fear of failure. But when you speak with power, you shift the narrative. You stop asking, can I, and start declaring, I will. Speaking with power doesn't mean being arrogant. It means being aligned. It means your words match your assignment. You start saying things like, this is what I'm here to do. I was born for this. I may not be perfect, but I'm prepared. Power speech doesn't wait for credentials or confirmation. It flows from clarity. You get clear on who you are, what you're here to do, and how you're going to walk it out with boldness, authority, and conviction. When you speak with power, people take notice. Why? Because it sounds different. It sounds like someone who knows the value they bring. It sounds like someone who has stopped shrinking. And when you speak like that, the room shifts, not because of volume, but because of certainty. There's a spiritual weight behind words spoken with power. They cut through doubt. They silence excuses. They move things. Let me give you an example. A young woman worked at a company for 5 years. She had ideas, leadership ability, and results. But she was quiet. She waited. She watched others get promoted, even when she outperformed them. Why? Because she kept thinking, they haven't noticed me yet. Or maybe I'm not what they're looking for. One day, a mentor told her, you're not being overlooked. You're just not being heard. Start speaking with power. So she changed her approach. She stopped apologizing for having ideas. She started speaking up in meetings. She stopped asking for validation and started presenting her solutions with clarity and confidence. Within 3 months, she was leading the department. The difference wasn't talent, it was tone. She stopped asking for permission to lead and started leading. This is what happens when you speak from power. Your words stop asking and start creating. You stop waiting for the world to invite you and start showing up as if you belong, because you do. You were never called to fit in. You were called to stand out. And standing out takes power, not permission. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for someone to pick you. You've already been chosen. Speak like it, walk like it, build like it. When you open your mouth, let it sound like someone who knows exactly why they're here. Because when you speak with power, you don't just change how people hear you, you change how the world responds to you. Speaking gratitude instead of grumbling is one of the most powerful ways to shift your mindset, your energy, and your results. Grumbling focuses on what's wrong. Gratitude focuses on what's working. Grumbling magnifies problems. Gratitude magnifies perspective. Every time you open your mouth to complain, you are rehearsing lack, reinforcing stress, and programming your mind to see more of what you... But when you speak gratitude, you're training yourself to see opportunities, blessings, and growth, even in the midst of pressure. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a choice. And when you make that choice consistently, it becomes your advantage. Most people speak from frustration because it's easier, it feels real. It gives a moment of emotional release, but it also keeps you in a loop. You complain about the same job, the same relationship, the same struggle, and wonder why nothing changes. The truth is, your language determines your lens. If you speak lack, you'll see lack. If you speak loss, you'll feel loss. But if you start speaking gratitude, you'll begin to unlock favor in places you once felt stuck. Gratitude doesn't ignore the challenge. It just refuses to let the challenge steal the lesson. It says, yes, this is hard, but I'm thankful I'm being strengthened. It says, I don't like what I'm going through, but I'm grateful for what it's building in me. That shift in language turns a setback into a setup. It changes pressure into preparation. It doesn't just sound different, it feels different. Gratitude opens doors emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and even financially because it positions you to receive instead of resist. When you speak gratitude, you activate growth. You start to notice the little things, the lessons learned, the help that showed up when you needed it, the progress you made, even if you're not there yet. And this consistent awareness starts building momentum. You start to carry a different energy, one that attracts solutions, not more problems, one that speaks life, not defeat. Let me give you a quick example. There was a man who lost his job unexpectedly. He had every reason to complain. He had bills due, no backup plan, and a family to support. For the first few days, he did what most people do, grumbled, stressed, and blamed everything around him. But one morning, something shifted. He realized that his complaining wasn't changing anything. It was only making him feel worse. So he made a decision. For the next 10 days, he would only speak gratitude. Every morning, he said, I'm thankful for the skills I have. I'm thankful for the time to reset. I'm thankful for what this challenge is making me become. He even started calling his unemployment a transition season, not a crisis. Truth. That simple shift in language created a ripple effect. He started thinking more creatively. He reached out to people in his network with a different tone, one of hope and confidence, not desperation. Within 2 weeks, he landed a new role that paid more and gave him more freedom. Gratitude didn't change his situation instantly, but it changed him, and that change attracted the opportunity he was prepared for. Grumbling is natural, but it's not powerful. Gratitude, though, gratitude is a weapon. It silences doubt. It breaks fear. It multiplies what you have. So the next time you feel like complaining, pause, take a deep breath, and speak gratitude instead. Say, I may not be where I want to be yet, but thank God I'm still moving forward. That kind of language doesn't just change how you feel, it changes where you're headed. Speak gratitude and watch your whole life begin to rise. Keeping progress instead of perfection is about embracing the journey, not obsessing over the finish line. It's about valuing movement over mastery. Perfection is a trap. It convinces you that if it's not flawless, it's not worth doing. It whispers, you're not ready, you're not good enough, you'll embarrass yourself. But progress speaks with honesty, with growth, and with momentum. It says, I may not be there yet, but I'm further than I was yesterday. And that one shift in language changes how you show up. how you think and how you lead. The pressure to be perfect paralyzes more people than failure ever could. People stay stuck in the planning stage, overthinking every move, scared to take action because they're waiting for the right time, the perfect skill set, or the ideal conditions. But perfection doesn't build anything. Progress builds. Progress learns. And when you start speaking progress, you give yourself permission to be great in stages. Your words matter. When you speak perfection, you delay your breakthrough. You start saying things like, I'm not good at this yet. I keep messing up. It's not working like I thought it would. That language creates discouragement. But when you speak progress, your words become fuel. You say, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm better today than I was last week. That's momentum. That's power. You start noticing the wins instead of only counting the flaws. Here's the truth. No one successful started with perfection. They started with what they had and built from there. They fell forward. They launched with a version 1 and trusted that growth would come through experience, not just preparation. When you speak progress, you shift your identity from being someone who's trying to get it right to someone who's committed to getting better. And better is where breakthroughs live. Let me give you a quick example. A man wanted to get in shape but hadn't been to the gym in years. He looked at himself and said, what's the point? I'm so far from where I want to be. He tried a couple workouts but gave up because he didn't see results fast enough. Then one day, he decided to change his approach. Instead of saying, I'm not fit, he started saying, I'm becoming stronger every day. Instead of, I can't do this, he said, I'm building discipline. That simple shift in how he spoke to himself changed how he saw himself. He began focusing on daily wins, walking longer, lifting more, eating better. Over time, he transformed not just his body, but his mindset. And it started when he chose progress over perfection. Progress is sustainable, it's realistic, and it's powerful. Perfection demands you look flawless. Progress invites you to be faithful, to keep showing up, to keep learning, to keep building. And when you speak it, you build belief, not just in what you do, but in who you are becoming. You become someone who keeps going, someone who doesn't quit, someone who celebrates growth over image. So stop disqualifying yourself because it doesn't look perfect yet. Speak progress, speak momentum. Say things like, I'm improving every day. My consistency is building results. I may not be there yet, but I'm on my way. Because it's not about being perfect, it's about refusing to quit. Speak progress and your progress will speak for you. Now hear me closely. If you talk to yourself like this for 3 days, just 3 days, you won't just feel different, it will be different. Why? Because you are not a product of your environment, you are a product of your words. And when you change the way you talk to yourself, you change what you allow yourself to receive. So don't waste another word on doubt, fear, or defeat. Be quiet. Speak purpose. Speak destiny for just 3 days. And watch your whole life shift in the direction of your voice.